Hi, and welcome to this sixth module of the course on blockchain technology. In this module, we'll talk about the various use cases of blockchain. We'll also talk about various live examples, live solutions which are already in implementation, which are live across, which are very much in use. And we'll also talk about, where blockchain technology is actually a good fit for utilization, right? So we'll talk about all of these things along with, probable use cases too. Right? In order to get it started, right? So, uh, blockchain finds its application in multiple industries, right? So, whether it's automotive, banking and finance, healthcare, government, travel and transport, retail, media, entertainment, insurance, whatever you talk about, you'll find application of blockchain in some other way, right? So we'll try to dig into a few of them. We'll try to talk about in detail in few of them, and we'll try to also see how organizations are looking to leverage blockchain as technology in the overall scope of solutioning. Now, before we go into that, right, we really need to understand when is blockchain a good fit as a technology to be explored, right? Because there's so many alternate technologies available, which are ripe, which are more mature. So it should not be used as an overkill, right? So typically, when we have a business problem to solve, which is has an identifiable business network, means there are more than one uh, network partners to it. So the solution is not, the problem is not just that you have single organization to cater to, but then when there are multiple organizations which are part to the business network, then yes, blockchain can be a good fit. Another good fit can be when there is a certain requirement of trust in the network, then we can say blockchain can be a good fit, right? So as I was just talking about, just to take that discussion further, when we need to share data with multiple companies across a network, as I said earlier, right, a business network, where distributed ledger can be a good fit, right? When we can encode the overall business logic, in a smart contract, and we can actually use the transactions governed by those rules and data, which can be visible to multiple members in the business network, when there is no central point of control or ownership, right? So it's like a distributed network. And lastly, when we need a permanent indelible record of transactions, right? So typically these are the attributes of a good blockchain use case. uh, Taking this slide from World Economic Forum, which basically talks about the high potential characteristics of a high potential use cases, right? So one, there is shared repository, as I talked just in the previous slide. Two, well, there are multiple writers, right, who are writing to that particular transaction. Three, then when there's a a minimal a level of mistrust which can exist between entities which generate that transaction. Most importantly, when there are one or multiple intermediaries or gatekeepers, which are used to enforce trust. And lastly, when there is a transaction dependency, between multiple entities in the network, when these are the characteristics in a probable solution, blockchain, that is actually a good fit for a blockchain technology as such, right? So what it really needs to sort of conform to what is, what's typically is the role of blockchain in any business. So blockchain removes friction, right? It builds trusts, and it unlocks new value between businesses and industries, and that's typically where blockchain comes and sits, does things like that. Okay. These are just couple of we'll talk more about this, right? How blockchain is being used for tracking the provenance of goods across supply chain, and we'll give an example of food trust, right? Trade lens. Then we are also using blockchain for digitizing the agreements and the existing manual processes. So trade lens is again the same example where you'll see in detail how we are using blockchain there. Another thing is how we can forge trusted marketplaces using blockchain, where blockchain provides a unique way of sort of balancing the resources, minimizing warehousing, because of the underlying trust that it provides to the various business network partners. And because of that, it allows new business models actually to which can be put in businesses, utilized with new businesses, right? One good example for that is, an example of utilization of blockchain in smart grids by Tenet. Right, this is a solution which is already live where people are using uh, power, on conventional grids, right? And so the power generated by uh, the unconventional sources like solar and all, when it is brought back to grid, how people are utilizing that, so there is a complete solution around that. It is also used for creating verifiable credentials, right? People are using blockchain for providing degrees, for providing health passports, for storage of experience, credentials, and all that thing, right? So let's dig into one of these, examples to talk more about how we are using blockchain in food trust system. Now, this solution is already live, and what is at the core of this? The core of this is, um, out of four, only one consumer trusts the current food ecosystem, right? There are a large number of reasons, for this. Why in this, right? You see, a lot of people get sick each year from the foodborne illnesses. Um, Most of the 80% of the actual business, is paper based, which is prone to a lot of malpractices, right? Um, the overall consumption, or identification of fresh fruit to be considered as acceptable for consumption is really something which is not currently in right shape, right? So one out of three fresh food is thrown out, right? Similarly, one out of five seafood products is mislabeled across the world, if you see, right? These are, our output of some studies which are already available there. And the major problem, which is common to all of these, is the lack of trust and the lack of transparency in the overall food supply chain, which is the reason why we see all these problems there. So, what the in so the ecosystem today is way too complex, right? If you see, um, where one actor transacts with another, and then there can be multiple, stakeholders, and they actually do it through individual transactions. And most of the time, these transactions are done not directly by the parties, by the actors, but then through intermediaries. As a result, the transaction takes so many additional costs, right? And it's something which also hampers the overall movement in a supply chain in a very transparent manner, right? So that's another point here. So a couple of examples of actors in the food trust chain. Carrefour uses, provides for the trace of quality and origin of antibiotic free chicken, right, from production through distribution by a QR code scan. So each time, you buy a Carrefour chicken, you can scan the QR code on the packing there, and it will give you the complete, data, complete data about the origin and how was it transported, what temperature was it stored, the entire piece of it. There is another, utilization in the coffee industry, where the coffee farmers platform enables consumer to learn all about their coffee beans journey. Right. Um, there is Walmart is using, a blockchain in the overall system for ensuring that the leafy green vegetables are can be traced from their origin, right, until the time they are landing onto the Walmart showrooms for getting sold, right. uh, GSF actually tracks the freshness of beef, right? Track, trace, and monitor the beef throughput throughout the supply chain with using our ERP, RFID, and IoT temperature data using a blockchain-based solution. Now, this system is already live, right? The food trust solution is already live. It's been there since second half of 2018, right? And within a couple of years, there has been a tremendous adoption. We have 150 plus global and diverse members already onboarded on the food trust chain, and four of the top 10 food retailers are in Europe and US are on this platform. So what it really helps, here is it really helps in actually providing that end-to-end traceability for a particular consumable here, right? So, for example, from a Walmart's point of view, right, the challenge was the leafy greens, which can be a reason of foodborne illness. It has been there in the past. Why, when Walmart saw a outbreak of E. coli virus, right? So after they did a pilot with the food trust, they were able to do an instant end-to-end traceability of a particular product on that food trust chain. So now they have this across for all the supplies of fresh leafy greens off on the blockchain solution, right? And in this way, they have been able to cut down the tracing time from weeks to only a few seconds. And it's really helped Walmart big time, right? After we remember there was a 2018 E. coli virus outbreak which happened due to consumption of contaminated cabbage. Another example, as a part of this is the coffee farmer platform, wherein coffee has been trading at the lowest prices in decades, right? And for that reason, farmers were switching to more lucrative crops, right? And the overall profits from the coffee, supply chain was not actually reaching to farmers. So the solution which the food trust blockchain using blockchain provides for is consumers can also contribute to in form of tips and donations to these farmers, right? And in against that, what the consumer gets is the complete origin of a particular coffee bean is available, right, to the particular consumer in order to understand the journey of the bean. When was it sown? How was it grown? When was it taken from the farm? The entire data on that is made available, and it helps in optimizing the supply and the quality of the coffee bean. Nestle has been using, blockchain on the food trust example, and it basically an initiative for testing tracing of Gerber foods, right? And what helps Nestle is it provides a complete visibility into the supply chain, especially across tires, nations, multiple suppliers, and also helps in optimizing the supply chain, right? Uh, okay. Um, so in the traditional systems, right, what we had is data was of course there, but then this data was in silos within each company, and this exchange of information between the company, the intermediary, it took a lot of time, it took a lot of resources because most of these transactions were still paper based, and hence creating a very inefficient system which was prone to manual updates, which was prone to a lot of frauds, of fictitious data on the network and all, right? Because everybody was maintaining their own record of transactions. Now, with a blockchain-based system, it really provided for a independent data sharing platform which the participants could trust. So once the data was shared in a single data sharing platform, everyone had an instant visibility about our status of a particular transaction, right? And the data immutability also created a auditable behavior, auditable record of all the transactions, right? And this was the reason why they could be, you couldn't have any fraudulent behavior on the network. And it also helped in the dispute resolution because everybody has the shared copy of the ledger, and hence, they could quickly arrive at the logical conclusions from the data which is available to them. And of course, the data is immutable, as we talked about, right? So that's where the IBM Food Trust solution uh, came in and provides for the solution to the multiple users across globe today. So IBM Food Trust offers addresses a few key pain points. One, it helps in tracing, right? It tracing the location of a food product both upstream and downstream across the supply chain. Two, it helped, providing for certifications to enable the reliability and accountability, for the records and documents on that network. Three, one could actually get real-time insights, from the supply chain so that they can understand over the product freshness, the shelf life of a particular product and all. And importantly, fourth is, you can expand the scope, you can have partners to expand the functionalities and deliver new value across the food supply chain. So that was really the pain points that the IBM Food Trust solution, addressed big time. So putting this together, right, the IBM Food Trust provides value to the entire food ecosystem. So if you see the infograph, You have all the stakeholders here, right, from farmers to logistic providers to certification bodies to food retailers to manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, consumers, regulator, all of them there, right? And it talks about the various benefit that they arrive, the value proposition that they actually obtain from the IBM Food Trust. So from a regulator's point of view, right, they can quickly identify the contamination, if any, right, at any point in time, and it reduces the unnecessary testing of the solutions of the product there, right? Say from a consumer's point of view, right, it's so easy. You can scan a particular label of a product and you can quickly understand the origin and till the time, the entire chain, the life of the product, of the produce till the time you are actually buying it, right? So that is really an increased transparency in the overall food chain, which is currently big time missing. From a farmer's point of view, you can actually the farm can really come back and authenticate the product and tell that a particular product is hit the farm's product is not the source of an outbreak if there is any, right? Also, it provides for connectivity to the overall supply chain, hence it provides for a bigger visibility, better market to the farmer, right? And then of course, there's so many of them who are deriving benefit out of this. So the effectiveness of the IBM Food Plus solution, was demonstrated by Walmart with a mango pilot, right? Wherein for a pack of mango, right, which was packaged, sliced, and they were actually looking to sell it. Now, if the supply, this is the infographic which talks about supply chain right from to the farm to the consumer. Earlier, in the conventional system, it would have taken 6 days, 18 hours, and 26 minutes to actually identify, where did a package of sliced mango came from, which farm did it came from, right? With the IBM Food Trust digital solution, it took just 2.2 seconds to identify that. So you can just imagine the amount of effort it has reduced in order to recall a particular product if a particular product has gone inconsumable, is not consumable anymore, or so that's where the difference is. So IBM Food Trust digital solutions helps the overall supply chain to be a lot more transparent, both from customers' point of view, providing for trustworthy food to be consumed. So moving on to next example, there is a solution called TradeLens, right? So businesses never actually happen in isolation, right? They're always participants in a business network. Now, business network typically will connect customers, suppliers, banks, regulators, and that too across geographical boundaries. So this TradeLens solution is a solution for global supply chain where all the parties can collaborate, share data, and realize the benefits of digitization overall. This is improving the container logistics, right? Including document handling, consignment visibility, shipment workflows within and across the supply chain, right? Now, if you see global trade in numbers, it's more than $16 trillion in goods which are shipped across in international borders each year, right? And there is an annual increase of 15% across the supply chain, right? 80% of the goods are consumers, use daily, which are shipped through the ocean shipping industry, and it's really important that we improve the processes so that this movement can be made more seamless, right? Now, if you see the global, there is a lot of paperwork which happens with in order to make these this consignments go back and forth across the geographical boundaries, right? And we discussed about this earlier as well, that the data is of course there, but then it's trapped in the organizational silos, right? And the entire process is paper based, manual, which is a lot of time consuming, and hence it results in frequent follow ups, results in errors. There's a lot of delay happens, and then there are high compliance costs because of all of this. Also, because of all this huge paperwork, and then this manual processes, the clearances take a lot of long time, and often subject to fraud, chain manipulations, and this overall reflects in high costs and poor customer service, right? So that's where the trade lens comes in and digitizes the entire global supply chain, by connecting the total ecosystem, right from shippers to freight forwarders to intermodal operators, ports and terminals, ocean carriers, customs, government authorities, a lot of these put together, they are brought together. It helps in, foster collaboration and infuses trust between all these partners by enabling the digitization and automation of the cross organization business processes, right? So it's really important from the point of view of stakeholders that the data is provided to them in correct format, and it helps in ensuring secure, auditable, and non-repeatable transactions. So this is an infograph which talks about, right, how complex is this scenario, how many players are there in this, how many network participants are there in this business network, what sort of documents, both structured and unstructured, are exchanged as a part of the the process over here, right? This is a summary slide about which talks about all of these processes. So the trade lens solution basically provides for bringing together the complete ecosystem, creating a platform, right, which can be accessible via open API, right, and it, it 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 basically is based on open standards, right, powered by Hyperledger Fabric, and it also provides for a marketplace where both trade lens and third parties can publish their fit for purpose services on top of the trade lens platform, and in this process they actually foster innovation and value creation in the supply chain system. So this is really important, how uh, data is really transformed in this overall process, right? um, so it's important that we adopt to certain standards which are in across the industry used for data governance and exchange, and this data governance model should be supported by all industry platform, right? As we are moving from a EDI towards a API, it's really very critical to adopt to that, and it provides for dynamic and automated data quality feedback loops to be put into place in order to get the right data. So TradeLens is already live today, both for TradeLens clients as well as network members. And the more details of what the platform is available on tradelens.com in case you would like to go and check it out there. It's really an innovative solution which is revolutionizing the way businesses, container logistics are happening on high seas. Right? Another good example to consider, from a blockchain implementation point of view is WorldWire, right, which is enabling, cross-border payments using blockchain. Now, cross-border payment today, is a very costly, complex, and tediously slow affair, right? And if you see, right, so if somebody wants to make an international remittance from one part of the globe to other part of the globe, so if you see the infograph, you'll find this. There will be multiple intermediaries sitting at different, places who are providing for this transaction, right? And the it requires a lot of regulatory compliances, right? Which are there in the middle, right? There is limited transparency to the overall transaction, right, which hinders the end-to-end visibility from a user's point of view, right? And importantly, it's very complicated, right? So what blockchain powered WorldWire provides us with is it simplifies the clearing and settlement, to streamline the cross-border payments. Now it targets the pain points. One, it provides for clearing and settling faster in almost real time compared to 2 to 10 days, which are required in the erstwhile system. It reduces the overall cost per transaction, right? So once that is improved, that means it allows for improved capital efficiency. It also provides for increased transparency in the overall system from a user's point of view, right? And thus reducing the occurrence of disputes or the need for reconciliation. And importantly, it builds the trust, this using the distributed ledger technology. It creates irrevocable and irrefutable audit trail of transactions, thus enhancing regulatory reporting capabilities, and of course, adhering to the compliances and removing barriers of entry for financial institutions to enter new market. So WorldWire is simplifying the overall clearing and settlement time to streamline cross-border payments. There are so many other, conventional, non-conventional use cases which blockchain is powering today, which is really is powering today. It's really important to uh, understand. That's why it's really important to actually understand blockchain technology, learn through it, and in order to excel in the scenario today, make most of it. So this emerging technology is being utilized by enterprises across the globe, in various domains. So it is really worthwhile putting time, investing time into learning this, understanding how these technologies work, getting hands on with platforms like Hyperledger, Fabric, Ethereum, Corda, if possible. So I wish you good luck in your learning, journey, and hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.